Hi, Zach here with Finale Inventory. In today's video, we're going to go over how to create reports either as a brand new report from scratch or by duplicating an existing report and customizing it to suit your needs. To start with, we're going to go to the report section here at the top menu, and we can choose any of these categories that fit the kind of report we're trying to do. For our purposes today, we'll go ahead and select the stock report here at the top. Um, Now, once here, we have a couple of options. We can click the Actions dropdown and click Add New Report, which will populate something like you see here that says Unnamed Report. We can go through and make adjustments there as we would like. Alternatively, we can pick an existing report that maybe we want to copy and then make some adjustments to. We can do that by clicking on the report we want to copy. In my case, we're going to use the stock quantity by sublocation and units. Once in, we can click the Actions dropdown and click Customize. This will take us to the customization screen, where if we did want to make any changes to this existing report, we could. However, we do always suggest that you go ahead and duplicate that report. That way you can maintain the existing report in case you ever need to go back and use that for any reason. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy this name and we'll click Actions, Duplicate Report. I'm going to paste it back in, and from here I would make any changes to that name that I want. Um, so in this case, we'll just add some sales data in here. So we'll say with sales data, and that will be the customization that we do to this. So now you can see we have our new report, and we will go into customizing this. So the first step in customizing our report is going to be choosing our data set. There are a number here. We won't go into these in detail on this video. However, we will have an additional help article that can explain the difference between each of these data sets. Essentially, just know that each of these data sets is like a giant spreadsheet worth of data, and not every data set is going to have the same data, though there is some overlap. So just make sure you're choosing the right one and reference our help article on these data sets to help you make that decision. If you did copy over from an existing report, chances are the data set in that report is going to be the one that you need. So we'll just leave ours at stock here. Now, the next options that we want to look at is going to be our filters. Filters will filter down that data set, that big spreadsheet worth of data, into just what we want to look at. Um, so as an example here, we can see our stock type, and we are viewing all four of these stock types. We can add and remove things from these filters if we would like. And we can also add and remove filters in general. So let's say I do not want the stock effective date filter. I just want to look at my current stock. I can delete that out. I can also add additional filters here as well. You can see all of this data that can be added on the filter to, as well as down here is our formula filter, which will allow you to create some custom formulas for your filters. Again, we will not go into these on this call. However, we do have an additional resource if you would like to add formula filters, which we'll link to below. Last thing on filters is the display as report parameter option. Now, displaying as a report parameter will allow whoever's running the report to go ahead and make adjustments for the specific version of their report that they're running from the main report screen. If that box is disabled, then it will just be the defaults that you have set here. Will be the filter that's ran every time. So if I wanted to set this for only active products and not let my users change this as they run it, I can add active there and leave this unchecked to display as report parameter. Now, the last thing that we want to look at is going to be our columns. We have two types of columns available in the report, our primary columns and our calculated columns. You will find many of the same options in both of these sections, but the way they function are going to be a little bit different. Primary columns are mainly going to be our sorting and grouping columns. So the first column listed up top is going to be the first one that we sort on, and it will be sorted alphanumerically. So here we have stock and sublocation, and we'll be sorting by those sublocations alphanumerically. Next is going to be the product ID. And again, within each sublocation, we'll be sorting those product IDs alphanumerically and so on throughout these primary columns. And that will be our primary sort. Additionally, exclusive to the primary columns is going to be our grouping options. So we can double click here on grouping. And we've got two main options here. One is to add a group when the value changes and indent subsequent rows. What that will do is, let's say we have sublocation A01. We would display A01 once and indent and group all of the products within that together. A page break when value changes means we will start a new page when the sublocation changes with all of that data. Um, Additionally, with each of these options, we have the choice to add totals below. And so that will total anything in our calculated columns that has a comma sum, and we'll discuss that in just a moment. We'll add a subtotal for that specific group. So for this report, let's say that we do want to group by our sublocation and we do want to add subtotals. So we will select that option here. A couple other things to note here, and you will see these on both the primary and calculated columns, is our width, alignment, wrap, and formatting. Width is going to be the width of that column. Now, if you're exporting this to Excel or CSV, that can all be adjusted once it's opened in your spreadsheet app. But this will be hard formatted into your PDF. So it's important to take a look at the size and make sure that everything lines up with the size of either a landscape or portrait sheet so that you can see all of your data if you're going to export this as a PDF. Wrapping allows you to wrap the text. You can choose to either wrap or clip. The default functionality, if you don't have anything selected, will be to clip that data. So for here with the product description, we will go ahead and select wrap. Formatting will let you choose number formatting, or in this case, barcode formatting to display your data. Alignment, of course, is going to let you choose between left, center, and right align. Now, as we go down to our calculated columns, the important thing to see here that you will not see in primary columns are these ones with the comma sum. What that means is that they will calculate the sum of all items within the breakdown. So in this case, our last real breakdown would most likely be product ID. So it'd be summing the quantity on hand units of everything within that product ID. If you have multiple lots or anything within that product ID, we would get you the sum of all of those totals. And that's going to be exclusively found in the calculated columns. Now, as we look at the subtotals that we set in the grouping, that's going to require that the columns that you have in your calculated columns have the comma sum in order to give you a subtotal below. Now, we mentioned earlier that we wanted to change this to add some sales data. So let's go ahead and get rid of some columns. We can just click the X here on the right. We just want to look at quantity on hand here. And let's say that we want to add our current sales velocity. So we'll come search and find the one that we want. We want to say, what is our product sales velocity? And let's say, what is our sales in the last 30 days? So I'm going to search again, sales last 30. And now here's where I want to add some, just in case, I've got multiple lot IDs, or to get a sum of all of the sales velocity within that sublocation. Also point out here that we can adjust these labels. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that comma sum in my label, and we'll take a look at what that looks like here in a second. And then let's, for one more, just say our last purchase date, and we can go ahead and add that in as well. And we'll say product last purchase date. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we want to pay special attention to our column widths to make sure that they'll fit if we're going to export this to a PDF. The limits are going to be essentially a ½ inch less than the sheet size. So here we see right now this is going to format as a landscape, and to keep it a landscape, we need to keep that under 10 inches. So we're good to go here. If we were going to format this as a portrait, we would need that to be under 7.5 inches. So I'm going to save changes. Everything looks good here for now. And let's go ahead and print this off as a PDF so we can see the report that we customized. And here we go. So here we're seeing the grouping by sublocation. with all the product IDs listed in alphanumeric underneath that. You can also see here the new columns that we added, sales velocity and sales last 30 days, with the totals on those sum columns below. One thing I want to point out is that we do have the sales last 30 days is kind of clipping there. And we don't necessarily want to make this bigger. So let's show how to fix that real quick. In our label, we can come in and add a /n to create a new line within those labels and have them go ahead and wrap the way that we want them to. So let's go ahead and save that in and print this PDF one more time. And now we can see that we've fixed that header there. So that's the basics of creating a new report. Of course, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at service@finaleinventory.com, and we would be happy to help. Have a great day. Bye.